Today's video is going to be on a very hot topic, and so I thought, what better time than now to do a get ready with me while we discuss the topic that is spice ratings. I'm gonna start with this CeraVe lotion, except I'm not because it's out again. Oh, I gotta go to the store. Then I'm gonna use this BB cream. Oh wait, no, this is the wrong color. Okay, I bought this primer 5 years ago. It's probably expired. Gotta curl those eyelashes. Ow, 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 ow. I like to do wings when I do my eyeliner. It's really natural. Don't forget your powder. Man, do I need to wash this. This looks right? I mean, it's hard to see. It's a smaller screen. You guys would tell me if this looked weird. I feel beautiful. I think I'm gonna start a makeup channel. Hi, my name's B. Welcome to my channel. Mama Needs to Read Romance. Don't leave. I'm not gonna be wearing this makeup, I promise. Oh man, guys, I feel like I'm about to open a can of this. And yet I'm still doing this video. Why? Because so many of you reached out to me either on Instagram or YouTube and asked me to. I am always endeavoring to make my channel better, an uplifting place where we can talk about all the swooniness that is romance with their happily ever afters. But I also want to be the best resource for you that I can be. So recently I released my March wrap-up video. Shown here with my thumbnail, I'm apparently posing for a glamour shot in this picture. I don't know why. It was the first time that I decided to include a spice rating and resources where you can find the books for free that I read, if I can find them for free. I think about spice ratings all the time. Some of you may remember my short that I did not too long ago, which I'll also link in the description box, that's just thinking about how different authors have different spiciness. And I thought, well, I might as well include a spice rating because it might be helpful. And you guys gave me a resounding yes, this is helpful to us. And explain, please. So here we are. I have 5 levels of spiciness: not, mild, medium, spicy, and extra spicy. Before I get started, I want to say I would encourage everybody to read the comments and also post your own, because I think if we had 500 people in the room, there would be 500 different opinions. I want to get this conversation started. This is more just a frame of reference for you to understand how I think about books, but I feel like as I've been a romance reader, that has evolved over time. So I wouldn't be surprised if a year from now I am posting an updated spice rating where I'm going to be referencing a lot of the comments that you guys are going to be making. In fact, I'm going to start by talking about Rebecca's comment on my last video. I love this. She says, there can be a lot of sex, but it doesn't move me because it lacks emotional depth. Yes, I want to make a distinction here. When I'm talking about spice, I'm talking about the physical aspects. It has nothing to do with the swoon or the emotion. The swoon being just the overall feelings of love, affection, intimacy. That is something separate for me. I feel like a book that is a mild spice rating could absolutely be one of the swooniest books I've ever read. I don't care if a book is super spicy or not spicy at all. It's all about that love story, seeing two people come together. It's beautiful when done well. So let's start with what I've considered not spicy at all. That is not to say that they're not great. That is not to say that I haven't been bowled over by the emotion that I have felt and gone on and on and on about some of these books on my channel. We just have books where there's like 1 or 2 kisses and maybe a couple touches, but that's really it. There's really no spice to speak of. Examples of this include Twilight, Cara Bastone's Audible originals, not her novels. These guys right here are phenomenal, and there might be a kiss at the end. But these are some of the most fun books that I've ever listened to. So much slow burn often, and the tension is so much fun. But yes, they just end in a kiss. Another one I have to mention is Holiday by Gaslight. This is one of my favorite Christmas novellas of all time. It's made me fall for Mimi Matthews so hard. But in terms of spice, there really isn't much of anything. But again, it's one of my favorite love stories. Another example I would say is Legends and Lattes, where you get a sense that there's something going on, but there's not a lot of affection. If you have more examples of romances you feel not spicy at all, but you love, go ahead and leave them in the comments. My next tier is when I actually start using salsa. This would be the mild salsa of spice. A lot of these are called sweet romances or clean romances. They're usually, if there is a love scene at all, it's either closed door, like referenced later, or it's fade to black very early on. You will see sometimes the characters are becoming affected by one another by like little tingles more in their chest area, like their hearts, or, you know, they can't breathe because they're just so overcome with crushes. kiss on the other person is probably how they'll describe it. Now, I will say though, some of these books, I will tell you, the kissing scenes are everything. The touches between the characters are mwah. I mean, they convey sometimes more love and swoon. I'm going to keep saying swoon. I need to get a thesaurus. Romantic drama and these kisses and touches than I've seen in like extra spicy romances. Examples that come to mind immediately are The Dead Romantics, books by Savannah Scott. I loved this one. I ended up buying it. I gave it 6 stars. Soraya Wilson is another one. Oh my gosh, The Seat Filler. That was the first book I ever read where it was like the kissing scenes were just, whoa. I mean, they're standing on a front porch kissing and it was like, woo, amazing. A Christmas one that I absolutely loved was Fade to Black was The Christmas Wager, which I gave 5 stars. I loved that book. The Stand-In, the only thing she says is, I'm glad I shaved my legs. And then that was the end of the scene. One person I question here, and you can feel free to let me know, Sarah Adams. I've read 3 of her books so far, and in When in Rome and The Cheat Sheet, we get a lot of partial nudity, mostly of the guy, and tons of tension, tons of touches, kisses. We're getting closer. We're affected physically by the other person. But I would say that overall that she's mild. However, I just read and loved the rule book, and there is a scene in there that I would more consider medium. I gave that book 5 stars, by the way. It was very good. And I acknowledge that an author can be in more than one spice rating. I'm just hoping to find the best descriptor. Actually, that brings me into my next level of salsa spice rating, the medium rating. Here we're getting most of a love scene. Sometimes they're using euphemisms or just really interesting, beautiful, often descriptive language to tell us kind of what's going on without telling us. One great example for me is in Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. During the scene between Alexis and Daniel, they're together and we know that he's touching her in a certain place, or she describes how when he's over her, she sees the freckles on his shoulders or the muscles clenching in his abs. You really get a picture of what's going on without it being super explicit, if that makes sense. There's a lot of slow burn, usually a lot of things almost happening, but then they get interrupted. And we're seeing more examples of them just really feeling turned on, and they're talking about it some. So I mentioned Abby Jimenez is one of my great examples. Emily Henry as well. Curse of Nona Mae Taylor, I felt like that did it pretty well. I feel like Canadian Boyfriend would probably fall into that category too. Let me know your thoughts if you've read it. Sarah Reddy, who I adore, she's a paranormal romance author. Some authors I'm not really sure about in terms of whether I would consider them medium spice or just spicy, would be Anne Gracie, Mary Jo Putney. I think a lot of the older school authors that are historical romance, I need to read more of them to really know. I would love to know your thoughts. Christina Lauren also, I feel like she could go either way. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating I felt was pretty spicy. Same for Love and Other Words. I feel like it could go either way. Let me know what you think. So now let's talk about spicy books. By the way, this is where I'm going to get more awkward, so get ready. Sometimes these characters, especially if we're talking like fantasy, paranormal, alien type romances, monster romances, you're going to see extra equipment described. There's great detail in the scenes. There's plenty of in the pants updates, what people are feeling for one another in their pants. These scenes for me are very much still tied to the love and the emotion. So yes, we're getting a lot of description, but you're still at the same time throughout all the experiences, you're feeling the emotional pull that these two characters have to one another. And I feel like every instance, for the most part, is bringing along the plot. It's telling the story of their love deepening and evolving. Examples of this would be Lisa Kleypas, Tessa Dare, Eloisa James, Scarlett Scott, Chloe Leese, Shannon Page, Kate Bateman, B.K. Boris, Anita Kelly, just to name a few. There's several that I'm kind of on the fence about because sometimes I feel like there's a little bit extra that's not always necessarily related to emotion. Some of it's just exploration or just for the fun of it or just because that's just part of their personality and they're very outgoing in that regard. Joanna Shue, Elizabeth Elizabeth Hoyt, Paula Quinn, Ruby Dixon, Elle Kennedy, Serena Bowen, S.E. Wendell, Allie Hazelwood. It's so funny thinking of Rebecca Yarros. I would say Fourth Wing is probably spicy, but then I would probably categorize Iron Flame as extra spicy. I feel like I'm getting in the weeds here, so I'm sorry. Now let's talk about my final level, the extra spicy. This is the one where sometimes I need to look things up because I don't know what they are. And sometimes I really regret it. There's often, and I'm sorry, but I gotta say it, fluids. Sometimes you'll get a little of that in spicy, but in extra spicy, it's like, wow, okay. A lot of talk about fluids. There's many, many scenes, and some of the scenes are just about the act itself, not so much about the emotional love, the spiritual love, but they're like it's a physical act. Again, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying for me, that is more like, I feel like extra spicy. There's props, or there's a special kind of play involved. Sometimes it's rougher, which I have a hard time with. It's almost like a little dangerous, which is not my cup of tea. You'll also see very generous descriptions of what they look like, which you'll also see in spicy, but you get really, really detailed descriptions of what they look like in extra spicy. Sometimes I appreciate that, and sometimes I don't. Some examples that I can think of off the top of my head include Lauren Lee, Minerva Spencer, Juliet Cross, Adie Award, Elena Armas, Kristen Callahan, and Hannah Grace. I hope this made some sort of sense and proved a resource for you, or at least a way for us to start a conversation. I'm really excited to see what you guys have to say. If you don't feel like leaving a comment, then feel free to leave me a spicy red pepper, and let the number of peppers you leave reflect the level of spice that you enjoy in your romances. That'll be fun to see. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, whether it's spicy or not. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye. Sorry for the glare.